In a kingdom bordered by silver rivers and forests that whispered after sunset, there lived a king whose 12 daughters were admired across the land for their beauty, grace, and intelligence. Each princess had her own laugh, her own way of walking, her own small habits that made her unique. Yet together they moved like a single melody, always side by side, always perfectly in step. By day, they were dutiful and gentle, reading in the sunlit galleries, learning music, and walking with their father through the rose gardens. By night, however, a mystery haunted the palace, one that slowly drained the king's patience and filled his heart with fear. Every evening the 12 princesses were locked into their shared bedchamber. The heavy doors bolted, the windows sealed, and guards posted outside. Yet every morning, when the king entered, he found their silk slippers worn thin and torn as if they had danced for hours. No amount of questioning brought answers. The princesses smiled, swore innocence, and looked at their father with such sincerity that even he doubted his own eyes. But the ruined shoes told a story they refused to explain. The king announced throughout the land that any man who could discover where his daughters went each night would be rewarded with marriage to one of them and inherit the kingdom. But any who failed would lose their life at dawn. Many brave men came, lured by the promise of love and power, yet none returned alive. Each night they were given wine, each night they fell into deep sleep, and each morning the princess's shoes were once again worn through. The palace corridors filled with whispers of magic and curses, and soon the bravest knights refused to try. Far from the palace, a young soldier who had been wounded in war and discharged with little more than his uniform and a small purse, heard the tale while resting at an inn. He had lost friends and seen death too closely to fear it any longer, and something about the mystery stirred his curiosity. As he prepared to leave at dawn, an old woman appeared at the edge of the forest and warned him not to drink any wine offered to him at the palace. Pressing into his hand a small cloak that shimmered faintly, she told him it would make him invisible and asked only that he be kind and observant. When the soldier arrived at the palace, the king looked at him with tired eyes, warning him of the danger, but the young man stood firm. That evening he was given a rich meal and a golden cup of wine by the eldest princess, whose smile was warm but whose eyes seemed to study him too closely. Remembering the old woman's words, he poured the wine into a potted plant when no one was watching and pretended to fall asleep. Soon the room filled with soft laughter as the princesses rose from their beds, dressing in gowns lighter than air, their faces glowing with excitement. The soldier wrapped the cloak around himself and felt his body vanish as the eldest princess tapped the floor. A trapdoor opened, revealing a staircase spiraling down into darkness, and one by one the princesses descended, their laughter echoing like bells. The soldier followed, careful not to step on the hem of the youngest sister's dress, which earned him a sharp glance that sent a chill through his invisible spine. At the bottom of the stairs, they entered a passage that led into a magical forest where trees shimmered as if made of silver, their leaves chiming softly when touched by the wind. The soldier reached out and broke a branch, which the eldest princess heard, her face tightening with suspicion, but the sisters urged her onward. They crossed the forest and came to a lake where 12 boats waited, each guided by a silent, hooded figure. The soldier stepped into the same boat as the eldest princess, noticing how the water glowed beneath them, lighting their faces from below. On the far shore stood a magnificent castle blazing with light and music. Inside, 12 princes waited, each perfectly matched to one of the sisters, and together they danced until the floor trembled and the air itself seemed alive with joy. The soldier watched carefully, noting every detail, every face, every turn of the night, while the princesses lost themselves in the freedom of movement and sound. As dawn approached, the dancers grew tired, and the princesses returned the way they had come, crossing the lake, passing through the silver forest, and climbing the hidden stairs back into their chamber. Before slipping into bed, each sister placed her worn shoes by the door, and within moments they slept as if nothing had happened. The soldier returned to his own room, his heart racing, his mind heavy with what he had seen. The next 2 nights unfolded the same way, though the second forest shimmered with gold and the third with diamonds. And each night he took a small token, a branch, a cup, a jewel, proof of his journey. On the third morning the king summoned him, prepared to pronounce the usual sentence, but the soldier calmly revealed everything, laying his tokens before the throne and describing the hidden staircase, the enchanted forests, the lake, and the underground palace. The princesses stood silent, their faces pale, knowing the truth could no longer be hidden. The eldest sister finally stepped forward and admitted their secret, explaining that a spell bound them to the underground princes, forcing them to dance each night until the magic wore out their shoes and, slowly, their lives. The king, torn between anger and relief, broke the spell with the soldier's help, sealing the passage forever. The underground princes vanished like smoke, and the magic forest faded into darkness. The king kept his promise, offering the soldier a choice among his daughters. The young man, remembering the youngest princess's gentle eyes and quiet courage, chose her, and together they ruled wisely, never forgetting the cost of secrets or the danger of beauty without honesty. The remaining sisters married in time, and though they sometimes missed the music of the enchanted halls, they learned to dance in the sunlight, their shoes lasting longer, their hearts finally free.